Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. And coming up today, Drew Gulak has re-signed with WWE. He is back. Nia Jax has been confirmed as Asuka's opponent for Backlash. And on top of all that, I'm going to talk about another story that is at the bottom of my iPad that I've totally forgotten about and I'm now going to very professionally look at while I narrate it. Oh yes, why WWE didn't have wrestlers gathered at ringside making noise until now.
Plus, a new United States champion was crowned on last night's Monday Night Raw. A huge move from NXT to SmackDown is happening this week, and an update on WWE's exhausting tapings. This is the news.
But let's kick things off. Talk a little bit about Drew Gulak. He's back under WWE contract, according to a new report from PW Insider. On top of this, Gulak has been moved from the alumni section on WWE.com back over to SmackDown and is now scheduled to participate in a battle royal on this week's episode. So he's back in the fold, back in business, back on the map, whatever you want to say, whatever phrase you want to use here. There was a report from Fightful previous to this stating that Gulak would be on SmackDown. It was followed up by PW Insider saying, yep, he's back. There's no word on whether or not, on how long he is re-signed for, but he seems to be back in the fold. This comes after he was let go. His contract expired on the 15th of May, or just after that episode of SmackDown, I should say. There was a pay dispute. He wanted a pay rise. WWE weren't offering one. But it was reported in the aftermath of that by Dave Meltzer that it wasn't a dead issue and that they may come to an agreement later on, and that appears to be the case. So Dave got that one correct. Gulak's back now. He's back in WWE. Glad he's getting paid. Glad he's going to have the opportunity to resume his friendship with Daniel Bryan on screen. They've been very good together. He's found a niche. He's a good performer. Happy for the guy.
I mean, I don't know what you want me to say about this. I told you so. I said Drew Gulak leaving was a work. And guess what? Your boy's been proved right again. He was right about Moxley. He was right about Punk. And now he's right about Drew Gulak. Get in.
The work is a work, is what I'm saying.
No, honestly, it is great to see him back on SmackDown. And I hope this is a sign that WWE plan to do more stuff with him rather than just having be Daniel Bryan's training partner. Who knows? Maybe they're going to work this into some sort of storyline. I don't know, but it's just, I'm glad to see him there, especially because obviously we didn't see him, obviously, at Double or Nothing over the weekend. So they got everyone hooked. They got people going, oh, could he be the ninth entrant? Nope, he's back on SmackDown.
Yeah, it was big, beefy Brian Cage as well. A man who had one bicep of Brian Cage is probably bigger than Drew Gulak's entire physical form. No shade on Drew Gulak. I love the guy. If you watch our videos regularly, you know that. But that sounds like a good agreement for all involved. I hope he got that pay rise, man.
Exactly, and as Andy would say, give him a push. Right, let's move on and talk about last night's episode of Monday Night Raw, which was a million times better with a crowd, of course. We'll get to that in due course. And that also helped with the celebration of crowning a new United States World Champion, former Titus Worldwide member. Apollo Crews is your new United States Champion. He defeated Andrade on the show last night. A couple of standing shooting star presses basically did for him. He did a really good promo afterwards as well. Yeah. Cut a promo about his time spent, obviously not just in WWE, but working up to getting to the WWE and finally achieving his goal, becoming a WWE champion on this brand, and just really good stuff from him.
Yeah, feel-good moment. First title win of any kind since joining WWE as well in 2014. Yeah, good for him. Hard not to feel happy for Apollo Crews. He's been through a lot, had a lot of ups and downs, had a couple of mini pushes here, there, and everywhere, but they never last long. And he always goes back to kind of this abyss and appears like once every couple of months and farts around. And it's somebody that a lot of people have been kind of yearning to be presented in a better light for a long, long time. So here's hoping he has a decent run with the belt and that the story of him rising continues and that the title win wasn't the end of that story, because that would suck.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we've got plans further than come back from having a hurty knee, challenge and then win the title and then go, right, what do we do now? You need plans after that, WWE. This is where it really needs to start happening for him.
The follow-up, as always, is the most important thing.
Don't put him with Jinder. There we go, job done.
Why did you say that? It's going to happen now. Not WrestleMania. God, we've already had WrestleMania. Backlash is the next WWE pay-per-view. God, imagine getting those two shows mixed up. And we got a new match on last night's Raw. It's going to be Asuka, the Raw Women's Champion, defending her belt against Nia Jax. Nia won this opportunity by beating Natalya and Charlotte Flair in a triple threat. She'd already made enemies of Asuka before that, though. She'd beaten up Kairi Sane, kind of bludgeoned the hell out of her. They had another confrontation at the very start of the show last night. That's your match. That's what's going forward. They faced each other before. This has always kind of looked likely, I think, since Nia came back. I mean, she's been presented as a big deal. She's been highlighted strongly in the lead up to Money in the Bank and so forth. So no huge surprises here. This is the match, and a victory here should hopefully legitimise Asuka's title reign, because it will be her first defence since taking the belt from Becky Lynch, who, of course, relinquished it.
You know what? I was kind of taking the piss out of this in the days leading up to Monday Night Raw. I saw the tweet go out being like, triple threat, Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax versus Natalya for some reason. And I was like, what is the point of this match? What is the point? Like, we all know it's going to be Nia Jax, but credit to WWE. Last night, they did make you bite on the potential wins of all three women in this match, so credit where it's due. I mean, why Natalya got this shot, I've no idea. She hasn't won a match since, like, some on Main Event about 6 months ago, probably. Which I hope this is going to lead more into the storyline of Shayna Baszler murdering people, because, yeah, she should have obviously had that shot. She just keeps killing people. I don't know what's going on with Natalya. What was all that bollocks with her answering a phone call from her other half and then not cutting a... I don't know. I'm all sort of intrigued that they're going to do anything with Natalya. But yes, coming back to that, it legitimises the challenge from Nia Jax, I suppose, rather than just going, oh yeah, she just happened to be the person to interrupt Asuka and jump Kairi Sane, so she automatically gets a title shot. And yeah, like you say, hopefully Asuka can pull a decent match out of her and, well, should defeat her and retain that championship.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, Nia really over-delivered against Ronda Rousey in those title challenges when Ronda was around. So who knows, maybe we'll get something of a similar caliber. I thought those were really good matches, so let's hope for that.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Right, let's talk about a huge move that appears to be on the cards from NXT to SmackDown. Matt Riddle, who's of course facing Timothy Thatcher in a cage match where Kurt Angle's going to be involved as well. I can't wait for that this week on NXT, is apparently, according to PW Insider, set to move to Friday Night SmackDown this week. He is obviously one of the biggest stars WWE has, in my opinion, and if they mess up his push, as Michael Sidgwick has said on numerous occasions, there is no hope for anyone. But this is kind of surprising. I think if you'd have asked many people, they would have guessed that Matt Riddle was going to be one of the next people probably to challenge Adam Cole for his NXT championship, maybe even be the guy who finally takes it off him. That is not the case. He's being moved to SmackDown, and hopefully he is going to be a mega star on there, and in my opinion, should be world champion in the next 6 months.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see. I would like a fast elevation from Matt Riddle as well. He's ready for it. He's really good. He's great at all aspects of the job. Popular guy, connects with crowds and so forth. The only NXT situation is quite interesting. I wonder if Timothy Thatcher is going to be put over quite strong in the cage fight with Kurt Angle as referee, weirdly. But yeah, that should be a fun little bout on a pretty violent little bout on NXT this week, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store for Matt Riddle on SmackDown. Somebody that we've been calling for a main roster. I mean, these things, are these even call-ups anymore? Who the hell knows? But someone we've been kind of looking to see move to Raw or SmackDown for a while, because it's, you know, he deserves a bigger audience. He deserves to be watched by that 2 million people a week. So I'm excited about this. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
Unquestionably. Two things. This was originally planned for before WrestleMania 36, but had been put on the back burner, and now apparently they're pulling the trigger on it. Okay, fine. Just make sure you do big things with him. And the other thing, don't mention his involvement in the Royal Rumble, because it undercuts him immediately. Just have someone come in, if you're going to have someone immediately challenge Matt Riddle and go, what are you? Just basically be like that. Be like, you weird, far too relaxed gentleman to be a wrestler. What are you? Just do that and just strap the rocket to him, because, yeah, he needs to be world champion. And it's going to be genuinely difficult to get this character wrong, but Vince can do it. I know he can.
They'll find a way, man. They'll turn him into a literal televised stoner, and it'll be weird, and they're obviously not going to do that because PG, but, you know, they'll do something wacky. Let's talk about the wrestlers gathered at ringside. Made a huge difference to the broadcast on Raw. It's so much more enjoyable when you have a little bit of noise in the background, when you have people reacting to stuff. Takes it above that kind of library-like atmosphere, and just, it's much more watchable, much more engaging. Now, there are obvious health concerns and so forth, but Paul Davis of WrestlingNews.co has a write-up here, speaking to a source within WWE, talking about why maybe they hadn't done this earlier, because AEW has been doing it for months, obviously. Apparently, Vince McMahon, he wanted to wait on it. He didn't want to just do it straight away, because he felt that it was a bad look, given that the social distancing guidelines and stuff that are out there. So, there's a little bit to unpack with this. They had plexiglass kind of around the barricades to try and separate the wrestlers that were in the ring from those that were in the crowd. People were, good distance apart. There was more spacing. But at the same time, man, you're going to take these measures, but then you're going to have loads of them pile into the ring for, the closing segment. There's a lot of questions to ask. I think at the end of the day, right, the viewing experience is unquestionably enhanced by this, but is there any point in debating things like the plexiglass and stuff? I mean, people are wrestling in the ring anyway. I don't think putting up a little sheet makes much of a difference, particularly if they're going to rush the ring. But I do commend them for bringing the noise back. Look, if you're going to go ahead with shows, the ultimate thing you can do here is just stop holding shows, right? But you can't do that because you have economic considerations and TV contracts. So if you're going to go ahead, I think Wrestlers at Ringside is the best choice. It's a much more watchable thing. And look, let's be real, you're already putting people's health at risk. Both companies are by having people wrestle. So here we are.
Yeah, much improved experience of watching Monday Night Raw last night, although I did feel quite ghoulish. I initially started off by going, this is great, this is the right thing to do, like you say. It's still iffy, but it improves the experience, and at least they're doing, or at least attempting, some sort of social distancing up until the main event where they just went, bollocks, everyone get involved with Lashley and Drew McIntyre and what have you. Yet, having watched it for about 20 minutes, I was like, ooh, I could go for someone being thrown through that plexiglass. I felt terrible for saying it, but it was the case. Further to those reports, something that's mentioned in the PW Insider story I meant to talk about in a second. Apparently, wrestlers' temperatures were taken before they travelled and at the arena. So I suppose, to the letter of the law, where they are, Andy Murray, they are abiding by the regulations.
Yeah, although, there was actually, and I don't mean to go off on a tangent here, but there was a really interesting study conducted that was cited by Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer this week. It's not his study, so before you go, oh, Dave, but he's quoting the figures, and apparently, through researching subjects and people who've had the illness and stuff, the tests, if you've had the thing, we'll call it, for 4 days, the test is only going to pick it up 33% of the time. Now, the odds do improve a little bit as time goes on, but by then it's too late and you've been contagious for a longer period. Jacare Souza, the MMA fighter who caught it, had to be tested 3 times before it actually came up. So unless you're doing rigorous testing over a period of days, these measures are, again, they're something, but they're not great. 33% is a very low number if someone's just picked the thing up. So I think the real debate, again, as always, is should wrestling be happening in the first place, right? And it depends where you stand on that. But at the same time, it was nice having some noise back.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of an update as well for you now on those tapings. PW Insider basically reporting an exhausting set of tapings at the Performance Center on Monday in Orlando, Florida. WWE filming 4 shows back to back to back to back. That
Careful,
being
Drake.
Raw, SmackDown, main event, and 205 Live. Yes, apparently that's still going as well. Apparently the tapings took between 9 and 10 hours. It was a long, long day, as I said. They were quoted as saying, their source was saying it was absolutely exhausting. Should mention, Sean Ross Sapp claimed on Twitter, no validation of this yet, that the people in the crowd were not allowed to sit down. So they were basically standing for 10 straight hours. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the fact WWE taping 4 shows continuously, Andy Murray. What a hell of a schedule that would have been.
Yeah, I hope they furnish these people with good footwear, maybe some Ultra Booster, some NMDs with the padding and stuff. Poor guys. Can you imagine standing there on a concrete floor for 10 hours? When I used to work retail, that killed me. But yeah, they're really buzzing through things at the moment, cramming as much stuff in as possible. So I think their goal seems to be just get as much done and then go home for 2 weeks and come back and so forth. So, it's another step. Sounds like a tiring day, though.
Also, I just remembered when you said that Vince McMahon didn't have wrestlers in the crowd initially because it was going to be a bad look for the company. Meanwhile, Black Wednesday, cool. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Jake, who says, are there any WWE superstars that you think it would do some good for them to be off TV for a bit so that they don't become stale?
Yeah, I think one that stands out for me, and it's always good to take a little month here and there off. It freshens you up. I think a good one at this moment is Bray Wyatt, man. Like, they seem to be doing that at the moment, to be fair, after the loss to Braun. I think it would have been a mistake to have him come back immediately as The Fiend. I like that he's maybe going to take a month off and, you know, maybe not come back till after Backlash or whatever, and, you know, make us miss the character a little bit, make us not get burned out on the tropes and things like the funhouse and the puppets and all that stuff. They've got a long-term storyline they can tell there with those two, and they're right to be patient with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think they're just clearly putting in this hey ho ho Miz and Morrison filler match with Braun Strowman in for this month, and then whether it be immediately after the match at Backlash or the SmackDown celebrations after that, Braun Strowman's there. I'm champion. I've beaten everyone. Nope, you haven't beaten The Fiend, and now he's going to kill you. I completely agree with that. For me, it should be Andrade. I love him. I think he's one of the most talented superstars WWE has right now. But what do you do with him next week? I wouldn't have him show up for a while now. He's just dropped the title to Apollo Crews. I don't need to see a rematch there. For me personally, I'd like, for someone like Apollo, we talked about how you start off this title run, just have him. He's beaten Andrade, clean, fair. Just have him immediately start on another feud, defending his title. And Andrade, yes, you say, oh, well, he's dropped the United States Championship, and now maybe you can put him in the world title picture. But he was getting beaten by Drew left, right, and centre for a while. So just let people forget about that for a bit. Take him away, bring him back. And for me, I'm just booking all my favourite guys into the world title picture, but bring him back in a world title picture, wherever that might be. Maybe it's NXT, I don't know, but he's so talented. I'd take him off TV for a while. Someone else I'd like to see off TV for a while, Charlotte Flair. For God's sake, stop putting her on every sodding show. She's very talented. She's NXT Women's Champion, but I don't need her everywhere. I don't need her on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT because she's not a proven ratings draw, WWE. Ooh, there's a little bit of me, old me came back. We're getting into the sort of Backlash area again, Andy, and I've got some old feelings coming back. Second question today comes from Matt Rains, who says, hey gents, who do you want to see feud next with Hikaru Shida, Cody and Mox for their respective titles?
Ooh, well, I think Shida's opponent was probably going to be Britt Baker. If they were going to go with a title change, Britt would have beaten Statlander, but she's obviously hurt. Statlander, probably. There's a very limited women's roster in AEW at the moment. It's pretty much the top four, your Shida, your Statlander, Baker, and Nyla Rose, and then kind of some lesser wrestlers on their rankings, like newcomers like Anna Jay. Statlander won at the pay-per-view. She seems like the natural opponent to me. They're having a battle royal for Cody's opponent. I think it's going to be Chris Jericho. I think they're going to run that feud back for the secondary title, and they can do fun stuff with that. Jon Moxley, Brian Cage.
Yeah, I think the Mox one's easy. I think Brian Cage is pretty much set up for Fyter Fest, which Andy would have been in London had all this not happened.
Scumbags.
I hate this flipping ongoing global health crisis even more. It's the worst heel of 2020. Anyway, in terms of the others, yeah, you pitched that to me this morning, the Chris Jericho angle, and I thought, oh my God, that's genius. I'd have either that. I like the idea, even though it's just running back the match, of Lance Archer throwing everyone out of the Battle Royal this week on Dynamite. And if not that, maybe it's too soon. But imagine if Darby Allin just won it and then immediately beat Cody for the title. Just putting it out there.
Be pretty sick.
In terms of Hikaru Shida, yeah, I like Statlander. Or if you want to go completely left field and try and keep the whole fail heist dynamic. It's been a 3-day weekend. Heel face dynamic. Bea Priestley. I love Bea Priestley, and she's great, and I think she could put a great match together with Shida. So who knows? But yeah, don't let it be Penelope Ford because she literally just lost to Chris Statlander. Yeah. But hopefully wins and losses do matter over there at least. Final question today comes from Brandon, talking about these superstars in the crowd there, Andy. He said it felt a little bit weird. He said, I like hearing a crowd, but when everyone is cheering or jeering for the same person, it seems like WWE is just trying to #push who we cheer for. Yeah, did you get a sense of that? A little bit more of like crowd control last night?
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit weird because when you have baby faces and heels mingling, it's like they're not going to have the same taste and they're not going to, all root for the same people. I think the AEW shows, the whooping crowd stands out a bit more because the heels are going to cheer the heels and the faces are going to support the faces and vice versa and so forth. Yeah, absolutely. It does feel a bit like they've gone in with this typical WWE, what's the word? Micromanagement of situations, and it's kind of unnecessary. Although I will say that it didn't really make a huge difference to me in my enjoyment of the show. I thought it was a big improvement regardless. But yeah, good observation.
Yeah, and I think for the moment at least, there are far more defined roles within WWE. It's not like everyone's saying, Seth Rollins is such a good heel, I want to cheer for him. He's a bastard, and we should hate him. I thought his promo, by the way, last night was sensational. So, yeah, it does feel like a little bit of control, but maybe that's what WWE needs right now. Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and shout out to the likes of Timothy Banks and Daniel on Twitter, who all pointed this out. You no doubt would have spotted this too, Andy Murray. As you mentioned, loads of superstars, NXT superstars in the crowd. And oh boy, Rick Buggs was back. And he was the bit I loved was Seth Rollins' entrance when he was just absolutely loving it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he was properly getting into it, wasn't he? So high energy. Is that the first time he's been on TV since the Buggs weekend thing where he got beaten up by... Who was it? Drew Gulak, wasn't it, who kicked his ass?
All I'm saying is Adam Cleary's Buggs watch counter has to be reset on NXT Ups and Downs. Check it out every Thursday. It's not just Simon Miller who does ups and downs, you know.
Yeah, ups and downs are spread across the... What am I trying to say? I don't know.
I don't know what happened there. It was like you were slowly having a breakdown.
Performed an illegal operation. Good night.
Whoever's editing this, can we have the Windows noise as Andy's talking?
There we go.
Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys are going to be reviewing Raw later on, and I guarantee I'm going to try and cheer them up a little bit because I know they've been a bit grumpy, a bit down in the dumps recently, so I'll sort them out. Don't worry. You can also join us at 4 p.m. live here on YouTube. Myself, Adam Cleary, and Adam Nicholas answering all the WWE questions you want answered. Let us know what questions you want us to answer on Twitter right now at WhatCultureWWE, and as I said, we'll be answering them live at 4 p.m. here on YouTube. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter, as I said, at WhatCultureWWE, and watch there. Follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Happy Drew Gulak's getting paid again.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn, and the H stands for Happy the Iconics are soon going to be tag champions again. You can follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. And my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.